For decades, Göbekli Tepe has stood as one of history's greatest enigmas. Hidden beneath the soil of southeastern Turkey, its towering stone pillars, carved with animals, symbols, and shapes that defy explanation, have challenged everything we thought we knew about the birth of civilization. Older than Stonehenge, older than the pyramids, a site so ancient it seemed impossible that hunter-gatherers, living without metal tools or farming, could have built something so complex. For years, experts argued, was it a temple, a ritual gathering site, a place where scattered tribes came to worship before disappearing back into the wilderness? The mystery only deepened with every discovery. Each excavation seemed to raise more questions than it answered. But in 2025, everything changed. New scans, deeper digs, and groundbreaking evidence began to rewrite the story entirely. What archaeologists uncovered wasn't just another piece of the puzzle. It shattered the old picture completely. Suddenly, Göbekli Tepe wasn't just an ancient site. It was proof of something far bigger, far older, and far more advanced than anyone had ever dared to imagine. And the truth? It's not what you think. But before diving into the 2025 discoveries, we need to rewind to where this strange mystery first began. Because Göbekli Tepe's story isn't only old, it's deeply unusual. The more layers you peel back, the stranger it becomes, and with every new clue, even bigger questions rise to the surface. The legend of Göbekli Tepe. Nestled in the dusty hills of southeastern Turkey, not far from the Syrian border, lies a site so ancient, so mysterious, it's quietly rewriting everything we thought we knew about the dawn of civilization. This isn't some spot you'd flip past in an ordinary history book. It isn't a tourist-packed landmark buzzing with cameras and souvenir shops. Instead, archaeologists are calling it one of the most important discoveries ever made about human history. And for good reason. Göbekli Tepe, which translates to Potbelly Hill in Turkish, is believed to be the oldest monumental structure ever found on Earth. Imagine a place built more than 11,000 years ago, somewhere between 10,000 and 13,000 years before the Common Era. That's thousands of years before the Egyptian pyramids, before Stonehenge, and even before people were thought to know the basics of farming. And here's the part that makes it even more fascinating. Only about 10% of Göbekli Tepe has been uncovered. The other 90%? Still buried, hidden beneath layers of soil, waiting to be revealed. And if what's already been uncovered is this extraordinary, then what's left underground could rewrite history even more. The first major discoveries began in the 1990s, when German archaeologist Klaus Schmidt took a closer look at what many assumed was just a natural hill. But what he found rewrote the entire script of human history. Buried beneath that mound were massive T-shaped stone pillars, some towering nearly 20 feet high and weighing as much as 10 tons. These weren't randomly placed rocks. They were carefully arranged into giant circular formations, and the stones weren't blank either. They were carved with intricate designs of animals, symbols, and strange human-like figures. Snakes coil across their surfaces. Foxes, vultures, and scorpions appear again and again. Some even believe these carvings are the earliest attempt at showing mythological or spiritual ideas. And yet there's no trace of writing, no wheels, no metal tools, no domesticated animals. These were people we thought of as simple hunter-gatherers, supposedly too primitive to design or build anything this massive. So how did they pull it off? And even more puzzling, why did they build it at all? The most widely accepted theory is that Göbekli Tepe was built as some kind of ceremonial or spiritual site. Many even call it the world's first temple. The idea is that groups of nomadic people may have gathered here for rituals, maybe seasonal festivals, funerals, or sacred ceremonies. But even if that's true, the questions don't stop. Why would people go to such extremes, carving and raising enormous stones, just for ceremony? And how did they organize on such a massive scale without farming, cities, or any form of central leadership? Klaus Schmidt offered a bold idea. He believed places like Göbekli Tepe weren't built after farming was invented. They might have been the very reason farming began in the first place. Think about it. When large groups of people gathered here for spiritual events, they needed food, shelter, and a reason to stay put. That need could have pushed them to plant seeds, build storage areas, and eventually settle down. In other words, religion or ritual might not have been born from agriculture. It may have sparked agriculture. But then comes another twist. Around 8,000 BCE, someone, or perhaps entire groups of people, chose to bury the entire site. They didn't just abandon it and let nature take over. They carefully and deliberately covered it up. To this day, no one knows why. Was it part of a ritual, a way to close a chapter in their culture? Or did something happen that made them want to erase it altogether? Whatever the reason, Göbekli Tepe forces us to rethink early humanity. These weren't primitive wanderers barely surviving in caves. They were organized, creative, and capable of advanced engineering, thousands of years before writing, the wheel, or even metal tools. And yet, despite its importance, Göbekli Tepe remains wrapped in mystery. The more we uncover, the more it dares us to question everything we thought we knew about our origins. So far, we've walked through the stones and dust of Göbekli Tepe's physical history, but the bigger questions are still hanging in the air. What does it all actually mean? That's where the real maze begins, because from scientists to storytellers, everyone has their own interpretation. As mentioned before, many scholars see the site as a religious center, a gathering place for rituals, ceremonies, or seasonal events. But here's the strange part. There's almost no sign of permanent life there. No homes, no fire pits, no trash piles. It's as if people traveled long distances to meet here, carried out their rituals, and then vanished back to their own worlds. That alone challenges everything we thought we knew. Typically, monuments come after farming because you need stable food supplies to support big labor projects. Yet Göbekli Tepe flips the script. It suggests that shared beliefs may have united people first, and farming came later. Now, that's the grounded academic view, but there are also more colorful theories. Some claim Göbekli Tepe wasn't built by humans alone. They argue that the precision and scale were impossible for Stone Age hunter-gatherers without outside help, hinting at ancient aliens. Others suggest it's the work of a long-lost advanced civilization, one that was wiped out in a cataclysm and erased from history. These theories lack solid evidence, but they've captured the public's imagination. You'll hear them in late-night podcasts, read them in books, watch them in YouTube documentaries, and even see them featured in TV specials under the banner of ancient mysteries. What fuels these theories is the massive unknown still surrounding Göbekli Tepe. With only a fraction of the site excavated, most of it remains buried. And for a place believed to be the oldest monumental complex on Earth, that's a staggering amount of mystery left waiting underground. There are still big questions about why Göbekli Tepe was intentionally buried. Archaeologists believe the very people who used the site covered it with dirt and rubble on purpose. That's highly unusual in ancient history. Normally, sites are abandoned and slowly reclaimed by nature over time. But here, this was deliberate, as if they wanted to hide it, and no one truly knows why. When science doesn't have solid answers, myths rush in to fill the gap. Fringe theorists imagine Göbekli Tepe as everything from a star map to a portal to a coded message left behind by a forgotten civilization. Online forums and videos are flooded with speculation about ancient technology, energy grids, and even ties to Atlantis. The media, of course, thrives on this. The wilder the theory, the more attention the site gets. And in some ways, that's been good. It's drawn global interest and increased funding for archaeological work. But it also muddies the waters, blurring the line between evidence-based research and pure entertainment. Here's where it gets interesting, though. What if both sides are missing something? What if the mainstream explanations don't tell the full story? And what if the myths, even though exaggerated, are pointing toward a real mystery we still haven't figured out? That's the strange tension that hangs over Göbekli Tepe. On one side, we have hard evidence and expert theories. On the other, wild speculation and unanswered questions. And right in the middle sits a site that, for all its silence, continues to challenge everything we thought we knew. But then, just as the debates kept circling, a shift happened. In 2025, fresh discoveries came to light, and they began to change the entire conversation about what Göbekli Tepe was and maybe what it wasn't. The 2025 breakthrough. New discoveries. Early in 2025, something no one expected unfolded at Göbekli Tepe. For decades, archaeologists had puzzled over the site's stone circles and towering T-shaped pillars, trying to piece together their meaning. Most agreed it was some kind of ritual hub, built by nomadic hunter-gatherers who only visited, never stayed. No one thought of it as a place where people actually lived. But then the Earth gave up new secrets, and everything changed. As excavation crews expanded their digs along the site's outskirts, they stumbled upon something shocking: the remains of living quarters. Not just scattered rocks or vague outlines in the soil, but real signs of habitation, hearths for fire, storage pits, foundation layouts, even smooth working areas that looked like designated spaces for tasks. This discovery lit a firestorm of excitement and disbelief. Until now, there had been no proof that Göbekli Tepe's builders ever lived there. The consensus was that because there were no obvious signs of farming, permanent homes, or long-term settlement, the site must have been a kind of sacred pit stop, a spiritual meeting ground along ancient migration paths. But what was emerging in 2025 didn't look temporary at all. And the surprises didn't stop there. Alongside these living spaces, archaeologists found tools, stone blades, scrapers, grinding stones, and even the remains of plants and animals. Evidence of wheatgrasses, legumes, gazelle bones, and bird feathers suggested people weren't just eating there, but preparing and processing food in ways that pointed to a more settled way of life. Grinding stones in particular hinted at flour or meal production, clear signs of longer stays. This wasn't a campsite. This was home. That single idea alone is enough to shake the foundations of history. If Göbekli Tepe truly supported a permanent or semi-permanent community, it forces us to rewrite the timeline of civilization, pushing back the moment when humans stopped wandering and began building structured lives in one place. It suggests the transition from roaming bands to settled communities may have started here, thousands of years earlier than we thought. And that's only the beginning of what 2025 revealed. As the excavation team pushed beyond the original dig zones, ground-penetrating radar lit up the Earth with something almost unbelievable. Beneath the surface lay at least 15 more hidden enclosures, still untouched. Some of these may be even older than the ones we already know, potentially reaching back as far as 15,000 years. That would place them far beyond the age of farming or metal tools, into a time when much of the world still lived in caves or hunted on open plains. The sheer scale is staggering. Radar scans have so far identified over 200 new standing stones, each massive, each shaped and positioned with deliberate precision. These aren't random rocks scattered by chance. They're purpose-built monuments, arranged in circular or oval enclosures, echoing the design of those already uncovered. In total, researchers have now confirmed at least 15 new megalithic temples spread across the wider site. And here's the thing, we've still barely touched it. Less than 10% of Göbekli Tepe has been fully excavated. The rest remains sealed beneath layers of earth, preserved by time itself. Experts estimate it could take over a century, maybe even 150 years, to completely uncover it all. Which means every shovel of dirt, every new scan, could bring another discovery capable of rewriting history. The 2025 breakthrough didn't just add a few new facts, it flipped the entire narrative. For decades, Göbekli Tepe was boxed into neat categories: a temple complex, a ritual center, a place built by nomads who came and went. But those assumptions are crumbling. Now we have evidence of daily life, tools, food preparation, and an unimaginable number of hidden structures. Together, they paint a picture of a people far more advanced than we ever believed possible at that time. What we may be looking at is not just the world's oldest known monumental site. It could also be one of the earliest true communities. A place built and lived in long before we thought such communities could even exist. And if that's the case, what else have we been getting wrong about our past? These discoveries didn't simply fill in the gaps. They tore open a whole new chapter, one no one expected to read. Rewriting history. What the evidence means. So let's step back and really think about what this means. For decades, archaeologists told one story. Göbekli Tepe was a spiritual center, an ancient pilgrimage site. These massive stone circles weren't random. They were carefully planned, symmetrical, and some even aligned with the stars. Built by hunter-gatherers, they show teamwork, leadership, and belief, qualities we usually link to farming societies. Yet in 2025, discoveries of food processing, tools, and signs of early domestication revealed something more. Göbekli Tepe may have been one of the first true communities. That flips the script. Maybe humans didn't farm to live together. They lived together first, and farming came after. These weren't wanderers. They had roles, goals, and vision. This raises big questions. Who organized them? Who fed the builders? Did they trade or share stories that bound them together? And Göbekli Tepe isn't alone. Look at Stonehenge, Malta's Gantilla temples, Menorca's Taulas, even Easter Island's Moai. The same instinct repeats, shaping stone into sacred places that united people and carried meaning. Across time and continents, humans kept lifting stones and carving symbols, as if echoing one ancient tradition. So maybe Göbekli Tepe wasn't the start, but a signpost, a breadcrumb from a much older story. The deeper we dig, the clearer the message. Civilization didn't begin the way we thought. It was creative, spiritual, surprising, and maybe we're not the first advanced society, just the first to survive. What do you think about Göbekli Tepe's place in history? Share your thoughts in the comments and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more.